Blog Talk Radio.
May 27, 2015. And let me tell you something. I've had a funny morning. Today, I wanted to talk about dying in my little introduction. Dying is what I wanted to talk about. The guest today was supposed to be Jeff Chaponick. And the last time he was on, just a few weeks ago, Jerry went crazy because I didn't ask him any management questions. So I asked Jeff to come back. Uh-oh. What's happening? They played my music twice. See, here's what I'm talking about, dying. I asked Jeff to come back so we could ask him management questions. And while I was planning the show this morning, Jeff's marketing manager, nice guy named Ben Holtz, he let me know that Jeff couldn't come. So I started changing my plan. Then at 11:35, Ben, the marketing manager, he wrote back to me and said, well, Jeff could come after all. But I didn't finish my plan. I was writing for a different show. What's going on with that noise? Gee whiz. I told you, today's not my day. Anyway, so he says Jeff can come on. Okay, I said, fine, let's bring Jeff on. But then Jerry tells me he's not coming. So today, I'm what they call samished. I'm full of mixed up confusion. My plan is gone. The guy who wanted to ask the management questions, he doesn't have a plan because he's not here. Now I want to talk about base jumping. Shut up! What is it? Why is my music coming on anyway? It's going to be a show. Let me tell you, I'll just rush through this. Base jumpers are people who jump off cliffs. They wear a skin-tight suit with material connecting their arms and legs, so they have like wings, and they've got material between their legs as well. And when they jump off the cliff, they stretch their limbs out and turn themselves into a human parachute and glide down to earth. Now, when they jump from a height of about 300 feet, they have 4.5 seconds to get the wind in their sails to stop them from falling. It's very dangerous, and a guy named Dean Potter was one of the most famous base jumpers in the world, probably the most famous. He died. He died. I told you I wanted to talk about death. He died 2 weeks ago. Him and another guy, they did a jump. But look, he managed to do it without dying, and in fact, without getting hurt really, for 30 years. And I think he has something to tell us, therefore, about how to deal with tricky situations like I'm facing right now. And here's what he said. He said, even in difficult situations, I'm able to stay very, very calm. When you jump, you know the only way you can do what you have to do is through total relaxation. I have been, he said, through some horrifying situations, and I just don't crack. I just don't crack. That's part of the reason why I've never been injured. At the time, he hadn't been injured, and his lack of fear, in other words, gave him the ability to think clearly and maneuver in tricky situations. Now, he doesn't tell you how to become fearless, okay? But he does tell us that if you want to do astounding things, you cannot be afraid. And here's how I think we can use his information. We're recruiters, and we're in situations all the time in which we're wondering, is this person going to say yes, or is she going to say no? And lots of people feel as if they're going to die if they get a no. So they don't want to do what they have to do. They're too scared. Hold on. I'm hearing my show again. Oh, maybe that's me, Maybe because I didn't close the other thing. Anyway, where was I? You're listening to you got this person on the line. You want her to say yes. You're afraid she's going to say no. Lots of people can't handle that. They're just too scared. The only way to do it is to be willing to die on every call. That doesn't mean you want to die. You just have to realize that it's not so awful. Dying might hurt a little, but being dead doesn't hurt at all. Now, of course, there's no real chance of dying when you make a recruiting call. It's important to realize that. I'm just saying it can feel that way. And if it does, so what? And didn't I tell you that I myself am willing to die here today on this show? And Jerry, what show is this?
The Recruiting Animal Show!
Have a guest this week who was on just a short while ago, but you wanted to ask him some management questions, so I brought him back. Well, Jerry's not here? That's too darn bad! What about the guest? Jeff Chaponick, are you here?
I am here.
Hey! We're going to have a great show. Get ready to die! Okay? Are you going to... Are you going to sing?
Sure, I'll sing.
Do you know I'm a Believer?
Oh, I love that song.
From the Monkees?
Yeah.
The Monkees.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll sing the first verse. It's written by Neil Diamond, okay, if you want to add just a touch of, maybe a little more class. But, okay, we'll sing. Maureen, you're going to sing with us?
Yeah, I'll sing.
Okay, the first verse or the second verse? You guys know the first verse?
Everybody should sing.
Yeah, they don't know. You know they don't sing. This guy,
right.
Jeff, one thing I like about him, he's got the guts to sing, okay? I'll go 1, 2, 3, okay? 1, 2, 3. I thought love was only in fairy tales. Jeff, come on. Meant for someone else, but not for me. Oh, love was out to get me. Maureen? That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Should we leave it there? Then I saw her face. Come on, Jeff, your line.
Now I'm a believer.
Not a trace.
A doubt in my mind.
I'm in love. Yeah. Jeff.
What?
I'm a believer.
I couldn't leave her if I tried.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. Now introduce yourself.
That was
please.
ugly.
No, it wasn't.
Really
It was great. You got guts. Okay. You got guts. Okay, Jeff, introduce yourself, and I'll see what we can salvage here. Okay.
This is Jeff Chaponick, president of MAC Executive Recruiters.
Okay, and your Twitter name is JCHAP, JChapONICK, Chaponick, and Recruiters
yes,
Mac. At Recruiters Mac is the Twitter page, and Mac Recruiters, MACRecruiters.com is your website, right?
It is.
You're a company with 100 recruiters and 5 offices internationally. Am I right about that?
We have a total of 9 offices.
Oh, 9
Three
offices.
of them are international.
Okay, and one of them, since Canada's not really international, okay, but Saudi Arabia is. Can I ask you about that? You're a man of the Hebraic persuasion, if I'm not mistaken. Okay?
I am.
Are you allowed to go to Saudi Arabia?
Of course I am.
Oh, really? I know.
Saudi Arabian people are amazingly great people.
Uh-huh. Okay. But and they welcome you, okay? Or do you have to, take Israel off your passport or something like that? I'm really curious.
I do not have to take Israel off my passport. They're very accommodating and welcoming.
Okay. Great. Okay. I just couldn't figure that out because it goes against what you read and see online, okay? Okay, fine.
Well, if there wasn't bad news, people wouldn't sell papers or news, right?
Fine. Now, you know what? Here's a question as well. Since you're a guy who teaches big billers how to bill $1 million a year, maybe you can answer this question for me. You've got these celebrity CEOs like Marissa Mayer. I read a long article about her. When they hired her at Yahoo, they had an executive recruiter involved, but in the whole long article, the only thing I saw that he did was arrange buses so they could take the interviewing panel off-site at Yahoo to a secret location because they didn't want anybody to know who was being considered. So what did that guy do? I don't know what these celebrity CEO recruiters do that's so special, that makes them different, that enables them to get those kind of jobs? Do you?
I think it's establishing a reputation for yourself and certainly a large network of people at the very senior level that trust you.
What do you mean? What do you have to talk about and give them, encourage them to trust you about? Do you know anything about that level?
Well, I mean, yeah, I know things about that level. The issue is that it takes time to establish a reputation of being able to get things done. It's you play baseball, you start off as a kid and you're a good baseball player, and you go to high school and people recognize you, and go to college.
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you. If Yahoo called me tomorrow, okay, and they say we want to hire a CEO, I could look at a bunch of people who would be suitable, and I would say Yahoo is looking to pay somebody, I don't know how many millions of dollars a year, and world spotlight. You want to talk to me about it? Yeah, they've given me the order. I mean, it doesn't take much when you've got that kind of position behind you. What's there to do?
But having the reputation is what gets you the position. That's what gets you the job order.
Why?
People are going to come.
What is there about it? What do they do that the ordinary recruiter does? Jeff, what is a recruiter in your office, the average person, not doing that they could do or they should be able to do if they were going to place someone like Marissa Meyer?
I think it's gaining the credibility for people to pick up the phone and talk to you.
Okay, but what gets you that credibility? Do I have to, pull your teeth out to get the answer?
No, I was trying to give it to you. It takes years, time, experience, reputation, network, to be able to establish yourself as someone that can be trusted and get a bus and get people to a hidden area to have a meeting.
An admin assistant could get a bus. No. What's going on? It sounds to me like you don't know the answer. Okay, let me ask you a different question.
It sounds to me like my answer doesn't fit what you're looking for.
Yeah, you're not saying anything. You say, you have to be trusted. Trusted to do what? To get arranged a secret bus? That's nothing. What do they do that's special?
Build a track record of success, working their way up their career to get to the point where people at the very top recognize them, appreciate them, and will let them into that small world.
Okay. Does anybody else realize that he's not saying anything detailed? There was a group.
Why don't you tell me what the perfect answer would be? What is it that you're looking to hear that you're not hearing?
I'm here because I'm a humble nobody. You're a guy who's teaching big billers what to do. I know you know the answer, but you don't know what to tell me. Now, I'll just give one more example. There's a man and woman recruiting team, and they were handling the replacement of Carly Fiorino, okay? And I remember they're called Batman and Robin. So I figured they must know something that lawyers know or accountants about how to structure a compensation plan. There must be something that they know special besides getting on the phone and saying, hey, Marissa, I got a great job with a company. I don't even have to tell you anything about it because you know them already, Yahoo, and they're going to pay $1 billion and you're going to get in the news every day. Think you might be interested? I mean, really? The point is, when you've got that kind of brand behind you, it does all the selling itself. The recruiter doesn't have to do anything. I think a moron could place that position, my opinion. Anybody disagree? Alex?
Yeah,
no?
Your guess is absolutely correct. It's all about reputation at that level.
Yeah, okay, fine.
It's,
yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Jeff, candidate control. Does that term mean anything to you? Doesn't mean anything to me.
It means a tremendous amount to me. And the smallest little things. If a candidate can take direction from the recruiter on how to do certain things, it's a indicator of how they'll be with the client once they hire them.
Okay, you got some examples for me? Nitty-gritty
examples? Sure.
Sure.
Candidate, you're going to do a candidate data sheet. And you're on the phone with the candidate at that moment, and you could probably do it right then, but you tell them you have something else going on, and that you need them to call you back at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon in order to get that accomplished. You put it back on them, see how reliable they are, see if they're going to take the direction, and call you at 3:30. Candidate leaves an interview. You always want to talk to the candidate before the client to get feedback. You tell them as soon as you get in the parking lot, I need you to give me a call and debrief on how things went and what you liked and disliked. Those are candidate control type issues.
Okay, so you ask do you always ask candidates to not do something right now when you have them on the phone, but call you back the next day just to test them?
Absolutely, yes.
Really, that's a rule. And you always ask them to call from the parking lot after an interview.
Yes, I do.
No matter what level the person?
No matter what level the person. I want to talk to the candidate before I talk to the client.
But this thing with waiting till tomorrow to interview them, like let's say someone's you must place people at some senior jobs. Am I right about that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, like where they're making a few $100,000 a year?
Just did one this week where their comp is $800,000.
Okay, and you're pushing this man or woman around to, with these petty tricks just to see if you can control them?
No, I don't consider it petty tricks. I don't consider it rusing. I consider it that if someone is truly engaged and interested in the opportunity, that they're going to work with you in order to get all the T's crossed and I's dotted.
Okay, and if they don't, will you not present them?
There are times, unless there's some legitimate reasons why a couple of red flags have popped up, that we will not present them. That is true.
Anybody want to comment on that? Anybody else?
Solid practice. Only thing I'd say is it's more about influence than the word control. I don't like the word control. You set yourself up for failure thinking you're controlling them. But he's absolutely right about the debrief. He's absolutely right about setting action plans and expectations. That's how you know you can work with somebody.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is, it's not that significant if the person calls you from the parking lot as opposed to later in the day. At least
it's significant because it's indicative of the relationship you've established.
Okay, I understand. Alejandro, I'm not that dumb. I just don't. I understand what you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to test the commitment of the candidate.
That's not necessarily true. There's a much bigger picture to all of that. I mean, if I get a phone call from a client who says something about how the interview went without debriefing with the candidate, I'm at a disadvantage because I don't have all the details. I expect my client to call me and tell me what they liked or disliked about the interview. I need to know from the candidate what they liked or disliked. I want to know from them after the interview. Maybe the candidate leaves the interview and goes, you know what, after hearing all these details, that's not a job for me. And then I get a phone call from the client going, we love that person. What do we need to do to start setting up the offer process?
So you usually get immediate feedback from your clients as well?
I get very fast feedback from my clients.
Do you ask for that?
Yeah, I set it up from the time we start working together.
Like, tell me about that.
I mean, part of our process is we go over how internally the client works, how their process works internally, as far as time to get feedback on a submittal of a resume, time to set up a phone screen, time to set up face-to-faces, time for feedback. We pre-set up all of the expectations from the very beginning when we start working together.
No, I mean, do you say, look, Mary, I'm going to send Bill in to see you today. An hour after he leaves your office, I'd like you to give me a call so we could discuss it. Is that client control? Same thing?
I think it's strategic partnership. I don't think it's client control.
Okay, but is that what you arrange, that they have to call you at a certain time?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And they can't say, look, I'm busy, I'm on a call.
Well, that will show how important the job is to them if they say something like that.
You know what? I've experienced that some jobs are very important, but it's really hard to get companies to move fast. Will you not deal with somebody who drags their feet?
I will never make someone else's job more important to me than it is to them.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to care more about getting a position filled for a client that doesn't have an active vested interest in trying to get that filled in order to alleviate their pain.
So if you say, look, I want you to call me back and give me your impression of the candidate about an hour after he's left your office, and he says, look, Jeff, you know what? I'm really busy today and tomorrow. Let's do it sometime later in the week. What are you going to say?
I'm going to say if that's the way your process works, I'm going to abide by it. But I can tell you that we debrief with the candidates very quickly, and I'd like to share what they thought of your opportunity with you as soon as possible.
Okay, but you're not going to put a pressure on them in any way.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm not going to work for you ever because you don't call me back in an hour. I'm not going to do that. But I can tell you for the most part, clients are very willing to debrief, even if it's in a general level, pretty quickly.
Okay. What about, you talked about process. I was reading an article this week. Somebody said, look, there's no after show, so Lee can't come on and say I'm an idiot for talking about articles and asking you nitty-gritty questions. So I feel free to ask whatever I want today, Jeff. Okay? And I read an article.
Is that control? Is that a control thing?
No, I'm just taking out some anger on people who aren't here. So, look, I read an article, and the guy said, look, we don't have a product to sell. What we sell is our process. So in order to make a strong presentation to a new client, you have to lay it out for them exactly what you're going to do. You can even diagram it and take it into them. Is that something you do? Do you feel that what you're selling is your process?
I think that process is a very critical thing on both sides of the equation, on the recruiting side as well as the client side. I am a big believer in process.
In telling them what you're going to do as a selling point and to win their commitment?
I absolutely let them, I tell them what I'm going to do as far as our internal process. Clients love to know what's going on behind the scenes. You can't throw stuff against the wall and hope it sticks. They want to know how you're going about earning the money that you're going to be charging them. Okay,
do you say, look, I'm going to spend a couple hours on LinkedIn and find somebody for you? I'll get to you in a second, Alex. Is that something you actually say, that detailed?
I think that's disrespecting the recruiting industry by saying I'm going to spend a couple hours on LinkedIn and get you what you need. Our process is much more detailed than that.
Okay, but sometimes that's what a sourcing these days amounts to. Am I right or wrong?
Our process is multi-stage, so it doesn't exist in my organization.
Okay, who else wanted to say something? Alejandro?
Yeah, I was saying I've gone so far. Process is important, and clients do love it. I've gone so far as to show the research. These are the people we've talked to. These are the client companies we've explored. These are the different our target companies we've explored. All that, and show them actual spreadsheets of some of the data of what's going on. And it depends on the type of search you're doing.
No, I mean, but do you diagram it? I know Rebecca, who did a great interview with Jeff just last week or 2 weeks ago. I'll post the link to that. It was very good, Jeff, by the way. I listened to the whole thing. And
did you just compliment me?
Yeah, I think you're a great guest. Even though you screwed me up this morning, you're a great guest. And
screwing you up would have been not showing up at all.
No,
being considerate and letting you know there's a problem.
Okay, but that was a great interview. I really enjoyed it. It was over an hour. Okay, but and I encourage everybody to listen to it. Okay, but let me see. I'm just going to say Rebecca actually, if I remember correctly, shows people a diagram of her process. Do you do something like that?
I can't say that I show people a diagram. I describe the process, and then I do share data as we go along the process.
Okay, moving along. Do you check references at the beginning of the beginning of the process, or at the end? Some people want to check references as soon as they get the candidate to make sure the person's good. Most people wait till the end. What do you do?
We wait till the end.
Okay, why?
I think that there's a lot of time, effort, and even money involved in doing the reference checks, and I have no desire to check references on someone who a client might not be interested in.
But then at the end, it kind of spoils. Like at the beginning, if you find out there's something wrong with this candidate, you can say, okay, we're not going to proceed. We're going to save a lot of money by not wasting anybody's time. If it's at the end and you find out something bad, you wasted a lot of time and disappointed the client as well. Do you see?
So can you describe to me what something bad would be?
Doesn't get along with other people, oversensitive, can't take a joke, sees everything as personal, stuff like that.
I mean, I have to say, at the level that we work, most of these people, a very high percentage, are long-term employees at different high-level organizations, and that we don't run into that kind of issue.
Okay, so you've never got
often.
a bad reference, so it's sort of a moot question. Is that what you're saying?
Listen, in my years of recruiting, have I gotten a bad reference? Yes, I have, but I think that certainly not in the last number of years. I think that we know how to screen out before they get to that stage with a client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know I've talked to people who actually got hired in the end, but when I checked the references, they said these are their strengths, these are their weaknesses. There's both, and sometimes, for instance, somebody told me once, that somebody focused. Nobody said at the beginning of the job that a love of patent work is going to be an essential part of the essential requirement, and it turned out to be. I don't know. Certain things come up. Sometimes it happens, not too often. I was just checking. Okay, to be a recruiter, do you have to be a people person? Do you have to like small talk and things like that? Do you have to be happy all the time? I know you're that kind of person.
I'm a happy guy. I am pretty much happy all the time. I see it as half full rather than half empty. I'm very social. Yes, I drill down and talk to people about, very small things in order to, develop a relationship with the people that I'm working with and working for. I do a lot of things way outside the box. I have a meeting up in Wilmington, Delaware on June 8th, and on the call that I didn't think I was going to be able to make your meeting, I got it done an hour earlier, but I was on the phone with a new client, very large client, and, I said, listen, I'm going to be in Wilmington, Delaware on June 8th. I can drive over after that meeting, and, we can associate a name with a face, and get together for an hour and a half. And she said, I'm 2.5 hours away. And I was like, yeah, that's okay. I'd get in the car. I'm going to be in Wilmington. Why not drive to North New Jersey and go and see the client, let them know that they mean that much to me that I'd drive 2.5 hours and come and see them, and then turn around and drive 2.5 hours back to get on a plane to come home. I think that's the kind of stuff that you have to do. We charge people a lot of money to do what we do. Our job isn't difficult, it's just hard, and you have to do things to set yourself apart from a lot of the other people.
Okay, so Jerry is on his way to Cleveland to visit a client today. He's kind of like you, although I don't think he hugs, okay? But to you, are you telling me you would not hire as a recruiter in your organization someone who, seemed serious or even somber?
Somber and serious are two different things to me. I would hire someone who's serious. I don't know that I'd hire someone who's somber. We had this discussion last week.
With me?
It's a privilege. No. It was internally in my organization. It's a privilege to work here. When you come to work at Mac Recruiters, we place ourselves above a lot of other firms that do what we do. And part of that is because of the caliber of people that we hire. And I just think that you have to have a certain mindset to you to be good in this industry.
So if we called you the happy family, that wouldn't be far from the mark. Is that right?
That is true. That is
okay.
true.
Anybody, Maureen, I heard you groaning there doing a Jerry. Do you want to comment?
No, I wasn't doing a Jerry.
Okay.
I was remarking about if I was groaning, I was groaning about what he said about this being hard and going the extra mile. That was really remarkable thinking.
Really? Okay. Maureen, you wouldn't happen to be watching Twitter for me, God forbid, would you?
No, I'm not, but I'll go there right now.
Okay. Now, here's another question.
She gave me a compliment, so you just took her off the call?
No, I wanted her to do something, so if people want to talk to you and they're on Twitter, they'll at least have a chance to contribute. Now, I read an article that says flex time, flex time, flex time. This is what everybody wants now, especially younger people. Do you ever use flex time as a specific attraction for one of your client companies to bring people in? I haven't heard of it, being used that way. I'm just wondering, with your vast experience and range, if it is being offered as a lure.
By my client companies?
Yeah. Do they say,
no.
Jeff, this is why people should work with us, flex time. We're really good at that.
No, I don't hear a lot about flex time. Now, what is popular in a lot of different areas is the 980 or the 880s. So, every other Friday you have off. That is something that appeals to a lot of people.
Uh-huh. And how do you present that when you're talking about a job? I mean, you just pull it out of your hat and say, hey, I got a job where you get up every other Friday? Or, when does it come up?
It doesn't come up in the very beginning. Our job in the very beginning is to qualify people and make sure that they fit the background and experience that the client is looking for technically. Because technical comes first, but then there's so many other things, the personality and the personal life and all of those things. But certainly as you're trying, after you find out that they are a good fit and you transition into the mode of what this opportunity offers for them, you get into the details of the 980 and explain to them that the company is off every other Friday, and that that's pretty appealing to a lot of people to have 3-day weekends every other week.
Yeah. Anybody else on the line got a question for Jeff before I continue? No? Okay. Nope.
No, but let me interrupt. Is this your birthday animal?
No, she wishes me happy birthday every day, Heather.
I see. Okay.
When is your birthday?
You're not going to judge me by my sign, okay? And that is below you. I have more respect for you than that, okay?
Actually, I was just asking when your birthday was. I really don't care what your sign is.
So we can mark it down and send you a card.
Okay.
When is your birthday?
Yeah, he wants to send me a card and show me what a nice guy is. Nobody
when
has
is
to
your
know
birthday?
my birthday.
When is
That's
your birthday?
That's personal. In the fall. Okay. Look,
in the fall.
Jeff, about we don't have much time, and you are a good guest. I want to ask you very detailed questions. Hiring apparently is very personal. Again, I'm going from an article. The people were surveyed, hiring managers, and a high percentage say they want to hire people they like personally, and in fact, they do hire people they like personally. And so, do you actually check out people's social media profiles and their comments on various sites to see if you think it's going to jive? Because that's what apparently everybody is doing. I'm wondering if you do that.
I don't do that.
You don't think it's important?
I think that there's game time and personal time, and what someone does in their personal life. Employment has existed for hundreds of years, and to be able to delve into people's personal lives on that front, it just doesn't appeal to me. I have a Facebook. My fiance and I, there's between my kids and my fiance, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures of my personal life on there. But I don't. I share that with my friends. I don't share it for other people to go and
Not
judge
really.
me.
I'm not your friend, and I looked at every I looked at every picture. Okay, because I was looking for pictures for the show. Okay, so you didn't close your Facebook, just so you know. Yeah, but I agree with you about that. I don't think your personal life has to match necessarily with the company. Although we've had a couple of cases here in Canada recently where somebody swore at a reporter, told her something vulgar on air, and he got fired from a big hydro company. And there was another famous guy, an interviewer on Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It turned out that he likes to beat women sexually, like beat them up, and he got fired for it. He didn't do it at work.
Listen, and maybe there's some industry. There's a girl from ESPN that actually I think it was here in Texas. She tore up. Her car got towed.
I saw that. Yeah.
And she ate that lady for lunch, and that made its way through social media and everything. I don't know what's right or wrong. For me, it has nothing to do with me deciding whether I'm going to hire someone, what their Facebook or Twitter says.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you ask candidates for right to represent emails?
No, I don't.
No? Because some people do if they're in time-sensitive industries where there's a lot of recruiters who are actually just sending out resumes without even speaking to a candidate. They want to have some kind of verification that they actually did speak to the person, and the person wants this recruiter to be the one representing them. You haven't heard of that, eh? It's not a general practice.
No, I've heard of that, but this is the way I feel, and maybe this makes me weird. I believe that my relationships with my clients are so solid that if someone just did an open submittal without a contract to one of my clients, thinking that if they ever got hired, they'd get paid, I've had people that has happened in my life, and there's never been a time where the client paid some stranger for submitting a candidate. Now, if there's master service agreements and multiple recruiting companies are working on a search, and we both talk to the same person, and that other guy gets that resume in to that client before me, hooray for him. He did a better job faster.
No, you're missing This is a case where there's more than one company working on a search, and the other you're the good recruiter. You call the candidate, interview him or her, and say, I'm going to present you to the company. The other recruiter doesn't do that. They just find the resume somewhere or get a profile from LinkedIn, and they have the right to send candidates in. They're not just sending in unsolicited resumes, but they send in the resume without talking to the candidate, so they beat you to the punch. And that's why these people get a right to represent, the good guys get a right to represent from the candidates they talk to, so if there is a conflict, they can show that the candidate actually spoke to them and wants to work with them. So, okay, you don't do that. Just wanted to know. What if have you ever had a case? Since it sounds like you work contingent searches, not just retained. Am I right about that?
We have a division of the company that does contingent. Yes.
Okay. What if they, present somebody and the client, it's happened to many people, says, "Oh yeah, we've got him in our database." The person wasn't they didn't access their database. They weren't considering the person at that point. But all of a sudden they say, "Oh yeah, we've already talked to this guy, a year ago or something like that. We don't want to pay you for him." Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, we have a clause in ours that says that if the candidate hasn't been touched or contacted in 6 months, the ownership reverts to us.
Will you send a candidate out to more than one company at a time?
I don't do that. I don't believe in double dipping.
No, really? Because they're not. If it's a contingent search, they're not paying you until they actually hire somebody.
It's just a way that I am, and I'm not saying on that front that I'm right. I'm a believer that when a client asks you to work on a search, you work on it and you present the candidate to them. Now, certainly we go after a pretty short period of time and ask if there's interest because we have another opportunity we'd like to present them on if they're not interested. But I don't double submit.
Okay. Okay. So last time we had a little problem with our discussion about culture. So I've changed my question about that this time. I want to know, I just broke it down instead of asking about culture in general. If you really go through I know you visit your clients, right? You visit all your personal clients, you visit all of them. Am I right about that?
I do, yes.
Yeah, but not everybody does, right? In your company?
Correct.
Okay, so let's say you're on the phone with a client on the other side of the country. You don't have an office near there. Nobody can go and check it out for you. Do you ask them about specific things like the dress code, whether they use first names or Mr. and Ms., or if they socialize a lot outside of work, or if someone's going to feel like an outsider if they don't go to happy hour, and things like are they allowed to disagree with the boss? How do they resolve personal conflicts? Do you get into that level of detail? Because those are culture issues, in my opinion.
So you mentioned about 6 different things, and 3 of them, yes, we do talk about.
Well, so
sure,
tell me which ones. Well, dress code.
Ahead.
Dress code. Do you ask about that?
We don't ask about dress code.
First names. Do you ask about that?
How people communicate within the company?
Yeah.
Yeah, we ask that.
How do you put it?
We just ask, is it more of a relaxed or strained type of atmosphere in the office? Do people interact with each? Strained is a wrong word. Strained is a wrong word.
Formal.
Is it very formal? Is it very formal, or is it very relaxed?
Do you ask if they socialize a lot outside of work?
We ask what they do as far as social activities.
And what about this thing if, somebody doesn't want to participate in social activities? Do you check on that?
Well, we say, when you have the social activities, is it mandatory to attend?
Okay. What about these other things about personal conflicts? How are they resolved?
Well, we ask, is it an open door policy? Is it pretty much an open dialogue where people can discuss things and work things out? We don't use while we're trying to make a placement, try to paint a negative. I believe conflict can be taken in many different ways, so we don't use the word conflict.
Okay, well, what about the idea if you're allowed? This is an important cultural issue. If you disagree with your manager, are you allowed to air your opinions freely? Do you find a way to ask that?
I think we ask it in terms of if there are issues that need to be resolved, does management have an open door policy?
Okay, the reason now, go ahead, Alejandro.
Yeah, you say we. Do you guys have a standard methodology of exploring culture when you're speaking to a client, one that's recommended in-house?
Are you talking to Jeff?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, we have global account managers that take on different areas of expertise as well as different businesses. So we certainly have, when I say we, what I'm saying is myself, the global account manager, recruiter that might be the lead on that particular role, are able to get on the phone in a conference call and ask the questions to management.
Right, but you handle training, right?
Do I personally handle training?
Yeah, I thought that Animal mentioned that you were doing the training.
He was at the Lucas Group.
I see.
He trained big billers.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So he knows a lot about
that you were
training.
handling training for Mac, and that I was asking, does Mac have a certain methodology for exploring issues of culture with clients? That's what I was asking. I thought you were handling the training for the company.
Sounds like he does have a standard approach. It sounds like you do have a standard approach.
But it might be loosey-goosey throughout the company. Different people do it different ways. That's why I was asking
Jeff,
if there's a
what's
formula.
The answer there? Jeff, that's a good question.
No, I think that we have a standard approach to all of our clients that's adhered to by everyone in the company. I don't consider the way we go about taking intake calls from clients or training people to become recruiters loosey-goosey. Actually, I think it's pretty stringent.
Well, I meant with the culture issue itself. Different people might ask different questions to get a feel for culture, or if you guys had these are the things we specifically explore.
No, I mean, listen, I'm not going to talk to you the same way that Elizabeth Linhart is or Nathan Logan in my firm. Everybody has their own personality as far as getting the questions resolved or answers. We're not robots. We're not drones. But I think that everyone develops their own way of asking the same question.
Okay, let's move on, Alejandro. But let me just clarify something. For me, some people would think I'm, getting too niggling here, but I think it's really interesting to find out what words, obviously I'm laying out these questions in a different way than you ask them. I think it's very interesting and your way seems to have been quite well thought out. I think it's interesting to find out exactly what you say, and that's why I was pressing on this. Is that a valid question, Jeff?
Sure.
Okay, sure. You know what? Okay, fine. Would you present someone who had sued her company for sexual harassment to another company?
I don't know that we would ever even know that detail.
I bet you would. Okay, or I bet the people in her industry would, because she might be radioactive, so to speak, at that point. And I was just wondering, if you've never come across that situation. Maybe it's not something you want to talk about. I'll pass on. Okay, next question. Do you charge double if they hire two people from one search?
Of course. You're talking about two separate invoices for the same position?
Say, look, we want one person for this job. You bring in three people for them to interview, and they say, you know what, these are two sales reps or whatever. I'm going to hire two of those people. So you've only done one search for them, but they're hiring two people. You understand? You've done one search.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But you bill them for two.
Absolutely. The recruiter didn't do half as much work to make both placements.
The recruiter did the work for one placement, is going to get paid for two.
Yeah, but he still did the work to go find the two people.
Okay, fine. What about LinkedIn? Do you guys have LinkedIn Recruiter, or just looking for some advice here on what the best LinkedIn account is? Okay, you do.
We leverage LinkedIn very, very much.
Okay. I'm just whipping through these because we don't have that much time, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, you're answering the questions pretty straightforward.
Jerry, how many connections do you have on LinkedIn?
Jerry's not here, okay? Jerry didn't show up. Jerry wasn't smart enough to come here.
How many connections do you have on LinkedIn?
Oh, a few thousand.
Seriously?
Seriously, a few thousand. I can't remember how many.
Okay.
You don't? How many connections do you have? 26,000.
Okay,
there you go. You don't even need LinkedIn Recruiter. You're connected to everybody you might need to know. Okay. How many? Does anybody else want to say, since he's putting me down, that I don't have enough? Anybody else on the show?
I thought that you were going to tell me you had 50,000 connections. That's what I really thought.
Okay, well, I don't, okay? And I don't think I need 50,000, but, I'm proud of you to have 26, okay? I can't say I have twice as many as you.
You're taking it as me being
egotistical. How much sleep do you get a night?
That.
How much sleep do you get every night?
I went to bed at 12 o'clock last night, and I got up at 4. I went to the gym, worked out with a trainer till 4:45, then ran 3 miles, got out of the gym at 5:30, and came to the office.
Really? And, you're a high-energy person then, am I right?
I am.
Okay. So not everybody can do what you do. Am I right about that?
And it's not because I'm older. I'm a big believer that you have to be balanced in many ways, and I think that being physically active is very, very good for a recruiter's mind.
Okay.
Do you think
I really
4
do
hours
believe
of,
that.
Yeah,
do you think
go ahead,
4 hours
Maureen.
of sleep a night is balanced? Most people
but
can't
that's been
function.
my way my whole life. I'm not saying
Okay.
everybody should only have 4 hours of sleep.
Right.
But I am saying that physical activity in a recruiter who, sits at a desk, dials for dollars all day long, that being somewhat physical is very, very good for them mentally.
Mm-hmm. Sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah.
Sitting is the new smoking.
There you go.
Interesting. I've never heard that.
Okay. How much time do you spend reading the newspaper a day, or finding out what's going on in the world?
I don't read a newspaper. I certainly look at
You know
Google
what I
News.
mean. Okay.
But I would say I spend 30 minutes a day catching up on the news, and of course I type in some keywords to see what's going on in certain things in the news.
What keywords?
Well, an example would be Baker Hughes, which is an oil and gas service company that is a very big client of mine and in the process of merging with Halliburton right now.
Mm-hmm.
I check on what's new going on there.
So how much time are we talking about?
30 minutes in a day.
That's all. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't read any in-depth article about foreign affairs or anything like that, right?
I only care about what I can do to improve Mac recruiters.
Okay, and you wouldn't get jokes about Joe Biden's massages and stuff like that because you're not busy reading articles complaining about that, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, no,
okay.
I don't get involved in that.
Okay. Now, if a recruiter goes into a new field, and am I right to say that you've switched industries at different times, or you've moved into a new industry? Okay, so you can't name any raving fans. I think my last week's guest, she said a recruiter always has to be able to, just off the tip of his or her tongue, name some raving fans to sell him or herself. If you're moving into a new field, you can't do that. So how do you sell yourself?
So are you talking about if you're talking to someone from a new area and you want to use a previous person as a reference to rave about how great you are?
If you're working in oil and gas, you can't say, look, I've dealt with Chesapeake and they just love me or something like that.
No, because none of my evolution has never not complemented what I've expanded into. It's not like I've gone from working in supply chain and then went to work in Six Sigma and gave up supply chain. Everything that's happened in my recruiting career as well as my business has been because of an expansion and being asked to do more from where it all started. So Mac Recruiters was founded on doing supply chain, logistics, transportation, distribution. Mac Recruiters still does a lot of supply chain, logistics, distribution. But from what happened there is I was asked, can you help me on the quality side, which led to Six Sigma, lean, process improvement. So we still do that, which then led to engineering. Can you help me with this? And so it's never been, I've given up one practice area to go to another.
I get it. Let me ask the follow-up question, though. Theoretically, would you ever do that? You're the kind of guy, I'm guessing, you're like a super recruiter, in my opinion already. I believe it. If somebody tossed you in the water and you had to swim in a totally new field with no background whatsoever, what would you do?
I would fill it. I wouldn't know how, if you told me to be an astronaut, I wouldn't know how to do it on the first day, but by the third day I'd have a pretty good
understanding. So someone puts you in a new industry, you got to go out and get business. How would you get it? I'm really curious.
How would I go about the business development side?
Yeah, you have to get an order before you find a candidate.
I would go and I would find out what companies are hiring in that area. I'd build myself a pipeline of list of who's hiring, and I'd start to find out who the hiring managers are, and I'd dial the phone.
Yeah, but what would you say? I'll come back to the original question. If you couldn't say, you had no background. You couldn't say, I have some raving fans in this field, so you can trust my knowledge. In fact, you would have to tell them, I'm really good at finding people. I don't know anything about your business, but that's not an issue, right?
I would probably start off by saying, this is my background and experience. I've been asked by someone who works in your industry to see if there's a possibility of them working with your organization. They've targeted
No. Okay,
you.
so are you marketing a candidate, or is that just a line? Are you gonna, or is that your way to do it? Find someone who wants a new job and then market them, or are you just looking for business out of the blue? That's what
I could do it. I mean, you might not like the answer. I could do it either way. I don't need to have a candidate in order to.
I want to know. You got no candidate. You got no background in the industry. You're calling up companies to get them to work with you. What would you do?
Every time he tries to answer you restrict it further.
Yeah.
Well,
why
no,
do you shut me up every time I try to answer you? Why do you do that? Are you that cranky today that you feel you have to pick on a guy from Texas?
I've told you 100 times you're a great guest. It's working out even though we had all these problems. I think it's an interesting show today, okay? I just want to see. Imagine if somebody, because it's happened, somebody leaves their organization. I have a gotcha. If you ever come back, I'll play you 2 different things you told me that contradict each other. It was a very hot issue as well. But let's put that to the side.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. But let's put that to the side. Okay, well, it had to do with people. It had to do with people leaving an organization. Okay, let's say someone leaves an organization and they've got some kind of agreement of non-compete. They're not going to compete with their previous company. They're moving into a new field. Okay, so they have to get business. They've got no candidates. They've got no pipeline. They have to get business in their new field. There's a guy on one of our John Jerry's Facebook group who's in that position right now. I'm wondering, what do you do the first day? You don't have any business in this field, but you're going to break into that field. How do you do it? And you're a guy who I believe, Landon. And what do you say? What do you say when you get? How do you sell yourself?
I'm an executive recruiter. I noticed you have this opening. I've had experience working in these other fields. I've targeted your industry, and I'd like the opportunity to show you that I could produce candidates for you in your given field. I mean, you're taking me off the cuff, but it would be something along those lines.
Exactly what I wanted. It's a question. And then when you get to the candidates and you don't know anything about their business except what your client told you. And what if the client says, we're almost done. What if the client says, look, Jeff, you sound like a nice guy. I'm sure you've done well in supply chain, but why should I hire you when there's 100 other recruiters who do, their bread and butter is in my field? What would you say to that?
Well, I'd probably say that my process is different from the other people that work in the given field. My track record of success probably exceeds the other people that work in your field. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is, and on this initial search, because it's a new area, I'm willing to show you that I'll do it on a contingent basis. So it's really not costing you anything to have me show you that I can fill your job.
Okay, and when you get to the candidates, or people you'd like to become candidates, and you call up and you don't really know much about their business, and so you're only looking for buzzwords or keywords and the questions you've been told, and they can tell right away that you don't have much of a background. What do you say to them to build trust?
I'm totally honest right from the front. People on the candidate side are really amazing, and I tell all my new recruiters this every day. To dial the phone and say, listen, my name's Jeff, and I've never worked in your field before. I've been given this assignment, and I'm looking at the job description. I'm looking at your background, and it seems to align. Would you spend a few minutes with me telling me if I'm on the right track? People open up their arms. They say, come to Papa. Come here. Let me nurture you. Let me teach you.
That's right.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I guess we should end there because I know you have to go to another meeting. I'm thanking you for coming on today. I said you're a great guest. Doesn't mean I have to be nice to you or anything like that. The show's not about being nice. It's about asking questions. It's about pressing people to give good answers. So, and I got to tell you, I have to salute Ben Holtz. This is the marketing guy for this company. He came to me himself and booked Jeff, his partner, week after week, and then he was on for over an hour with Rebecca. I know you said you were also...
Yeah, but I like Rebecca better than you. I like her better than you.
That's okay, I don't care. But you came to her through this show. And so anyway, I'm talking about Ben Holtz, and you were at the diversity conference of some sort at a university in Texas. So, I don't know, Ben's doing something very different from anybody I've ever encountered. I've been doing the show 8 years. Nobody comes on gangbusters like you guys, and you made a splash. I've never heard of you before, right? So I think you guys are doing something good. Okay, I'm complimenting you. You happy now? Anybody got any last? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done. I'm good. I'm good.
Does anybody else have something they'd like to say to Jeff before he takes off? Nope. Okay.
No is good.
No,
all right,
but
listen, I hope everybody bills $1 million today. I got to go.
We'll see
Animal,
you
if you
again.
need me back again.
blast. I was going to have no after show, but and actually everybody's leaving now anyway. But I thought if Alejandra wanted to do one or Maureen, but I guess we can't because it's all over, folks. And I don't usually say folks. Thanks for listening in. Bye bye.